Okay, welcome back, designers and developers. We are still working on this focus timer right over here where we can set different values and then hit play, pause, and have our timer either start or stop counting. Just a little focus timer just to keep us occupied. So what we are doing next is we are going to be creating some of the JavaScript functions inside of here, and we'll see if I throw all the functions in here or we split it up into two videos. But the first thing that we're going to do, we are going to create a function that allows us to set our time that we want. So we can set our time to be 5, 15, or 25. These are minutes. So let's go through that. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are actually going to call the entire container that holds all of these buttons inside of it. If you remember from our HTML, we created this div class time select. So we are going to call out this time select because any of these buttons we want to be able to target and select those to set our time. So I'm going to create a new variable and I'm going to call this time container, and that is going to be equal to our document dot get element by did I just make it a class? Yeah, it is just a class. So we can even do, we could do query selector, we could do class name, doesn't matter. Let's do query selector, and we're gonna call out the class, so it's gonna be dot time select. Cool. All right. So we've got our const, this is the timer container, is equal to the document query selector with the class of time select. So that should have selected everything that's inside of this. Everything, these three buttons. That's what I mean. Cool. All right, now that we have that on the page, we're going to add an event listener to this. So we're gonna call out our timer container dot add event listener. Cool. Now we've got the add event listener. What we want to happen, we are looking for a click, and when we click, we are going to run the function set time. We haven't created that function, and that's what we're going to do right now. So we're going to call out function set time. Now this is going to take an argument. It's going to take an event, and that event is on our click, and it's going to do different things depending on what we click on. So we're actually going to create a new variable right now that we're going to call const selected. So this is whatever button we select. If we select the 5, the 15, the 25, that is going to be equal to whatever our event is targeting. Because we selected a container, we can select a whole bunch of things that are inside of it. So we're going to say event.target. So now we've got our const container add event listener. When we click anywhere inside of our container that holds these three buttons, we're going to select something different. So we're either going to select the 5, the 15, the 25. So this const selected, we are going to store different values inside. Right now it's whatever our event, which is a click, is targeting. So if we target the 5 with a click, the 15 with a click, or the 25 with a click. Cool. All right, so let's create a little if structure. So we're gonna say if our selected has a class that is equal to those specific classes that we gave, such as 5 button, 15 button, or 25 button, we're gonna do different things. So if we have this 5 selected, let's say selected has a dot class list, and the very first class, so class list 0, is equal to 5 button, we are going to do something different than if it is equal to something else. So on this one, let's just debug this a little bit. So we're going to do a console log of 5. Cool. And let's see if this is working. Let's go over to our console. Ooh, we we had a lot of things that were popping up. We didn't see it. So let's click over here. Cool. Now it counts the logs 5. So that's pretty good. We've got that working. Let's go through and let's do the other ones then. So we are going to do an else if, and this one is if our selected has a dot class list of 0 that is equal to our 15 button. So inside of this, if that, we're gonna get a console.log of 15. Cool. And now there's only one other option that we can select inside of this. So we are just gonna create an else. And if we target our 25 button, we just want to console.log 25. Cool. So let's see if this works. I'm gonna open up my console over here and then clear this so we don't have any bugs in there. They're all coming out. 5. Else if selected has a class list of 15 button, console log 15. Else 25. Oh, I'm doing just a single equals. I think I should be doing there we go. That was my issue. I had a single equal, so we're assigning that to a button of 5. It's not really ever going to be that. So the double equals was what I was missing. Double equals. We could even do triple equals if we wanted to, make it extra secure, but this is working now, so we've got 5, 15, 25. Cool. All right, now that we've got that all set up, let's actually say what we want to do. Well, we want to set a value that we haven't created yet. So before we even start this function, I'm going to create a let, and I'm going to call this total time in seconds. So total time s. And I'm just going to declare it right here. I'm not even going to set a value for it. But if we select that 5 button, we want to take that total time s, and we are going to say that it is now set equal to 5 times 60, because that's what we want. We want our total time in seconds. 5 times 60, that's going to give us 300 seconds, which is what we would have with a 5 button. You can also do the math if you wanted to throw in total time s is equal to 300, but this also works. Total time s is equal to 15 times 60. Cool. And then the last one over here that we are going to throw in is total time is equal to 25 times 60. Cool. So we're going to set this value depending on which button we select. And then what we want to do is, after every time we select this, whether we're selecting 5, 15, 25, we want to update our timer. And that is going to be a separate function, but we're just going to call this update timer, and we're going to call out that function. So we're going to do that every single time that we select one of these buttons. And right now we don't have that update timer, so let's actually create an update timer. So down over here, and I'll leave this up for a second, try to have more space on it. Oh, I can't really. All right, well, what we're going to do, we're going to update the timer, and that timer is going to be inside of this right here, this class time display. Cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create our const, which is going to be our, let's call it live timer, because that's going to show us exactly what we're seeing. And we're just going to grab this from our page. So we're going to go document dot query selector, and inside of this we called that in our HTML our time display. So it's dot time display. Cool. All right, and this is where that function is actually going to be making changes. So we're going to call out that function that is going to be update timer. Cool. So now what we want to do, we are going to have our minutes and our seconds. Oh, this is a function, so I need to have my brackets over here for my parentheses. We're not going to pass any arguments through it, but we're going to leave those there. But inside of this update timer, we are going to take the total time that we set based on these buttons, and we're going to convert those into minutes and seconds remaining. So let's do that. The first thing that we're going to do, we're going to get our let minutes. Minutes is going to be equal to whatever our total time in seconds. So total time S divided by 60. That right there should give us whatever time in minutes is left. Now this could equal a decimal, so we're going to give it a math dot floor. We're going to put that all around here, just so we don't get a decimal answer. So now that we have our minutes set, we are actually going to format those minutes because they're going to come out. We'll format them in a second. Let's get our seconds next. So we're going to do let seconds is equal to, this is just going to be our total time in seconds modulus 60. So if 60 goes into it, that's going to be the equivalent of 1 minute, right? So every time that 60 goes into 300, we would have 5 minutes and 0 seconds left over. But if it was 301, 60 would go into that 5 times, leaving 1 left, which would be our seconds remaining. So that's why we're using this mod 60 right here. So total time, remainder 60, modulus 60, whatever you'd like to use. Now that we have all these, let's throw this into the timer. Let's see what it actually looks like when we update this. So we're going to call out that live timer, and we're going to say let's do inner HTML. And inside of this, we are going to set up just a statement. So inside of this statement, I'm going to use my backticks, and I'm going to set in a variable. We're going to throw in minutes over here. So minutes, and then we're going to do colon, and we're going to do another placeholder $, open, close brackets, and inside of this, we are going to throw in our seconds. Cool. All right. So now, whenever we click on one of these buttons, we're going to update that timer, and we're going to use whatever that is to show us the minutes and seconds that are left. So if I click on this, update time. Oh, because I made it update time and not update timer. There we go. I have another error. Update time. Update time. I just did it. Let me save. There we go. All right, so this is great because it's showing us some of the issues that we have right here. It is updating the time. We're either getting 5 minutes remaining, 15 minutes remaining, or 25 minutes remaining. But then we've got this 0 over here, and we're not exactly thrilled about having just 1 0. We'd never actually see seconds displayed like that. And also notice this is basically 4 characters long because we've got the 2 minutes in front, we've got the colon, and then the seconds value over here. But when we go over to 5, we've got a different value over here. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that there's always a 0 in front of our minutes and then there's always 2 zeros inside of our seconds. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to format our minutes and we're going to format our seconds. So let's go over here and let's do a let, and we're going to call this formatted mins. Formatted mins is going to be equal to essentially our minutes, but we need to actually change these to a string in order to add a 0 in front of it. So we're going to say to string, which is a method, so we need those parentheses right there. And then we are going to use another method, which is going to be pad start. And pad start takes 2 arguments. And what that means is that it's going to add a value in front of it if we don't have a certain number of characters met. So we're going to say that there needs to be 2 characters, and if there's not, add a 0 in front of it. That again is a string 0. So we have to, pad start is a string method, so we have to change our minutes into a string before we do that. And then if I go over here and I go say, instead of saying minutes, I'm going to swap this out for formatted mins. And now when I hit the 5, we've got the 05 in front. So we're going to do the same thing for our seconds. I've got most of this written out already, so I'm just going to copy that and throw that into here. So let's change that from mins to secs. And then minutes, we want to change this to seconds, to string pad start, and then we'll throw in our formatted seconds. Cool. All right, preview is all ready. There we go. Now all that looks good. Sweet. So we are on to minute 17, but we've got our first 2 functions over here, and that's good for now. I'll talk to you later.